Hi, Matt Rogerson back again. As we get ready for rock and ice, we've been working through Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're right down the bottom still: food, water, accommodation. So shelter is really important. So we're going to talk tents now for a couple of minutes. There's a couple of ways you can stay sheltered in the snow. We'll be exploring most of those on the trip. We'll be putting up tents, but we'll also be using some snow caves and potentially igloos that can be made in a few different ways. And you'll get to probably sleep in a snow cave on the trip. But what I want to talk now specifically is tents. You've got to really look after your tents in the snow. They are your shelter, and big storm comes, you're going to die without proper shelter. So we need to look after our tents. You'll be issued a tent for the trip from the AAA store, and we've got a couple to choose from. This one here is one of our older designs. This is a stretch dome, and again, really good tent. Expedition, so it's very solid in bad weather, but reasonably heavy. That's probably going to be about 3 to 4 kilos right there. These two tents are some of the newer fleet of tents that we've got. These are both Mont branded tents. This is an Epoch, and that's a really bomb-proof 4-season tent. What do we mean by 4-season? It means that you can use it summer right through to winter, and in particular this is very solid for winter camping. It's got 5 poles as part of its construction, and that gives you a very strong interlocking set of structural supports that are going to keep that tent up under a really heavy wind load, or indeed snow load, which will happen on it. The third tent that we'll be using, this one's really a great design. It's called the Dragonfly, and it really straddles that 3-season, 4-season style. So it's much lighter than even the Epoch, and yet we've used this successfully in the snow as well. So it's very lightweight materials, and basically can be used in the snow, but you need to look after it even more than the other two. How do you look after tents in the snow? Firstly, by creating a really solid base, and you can do that by basically stomping the snow down around where you're going to put that tent up. The next thing is to make sure that once you've put it up correctly, that any snow that loads on it, you can take off. But when you do, you've got to be very careful. You don't use a snow shovel or any other device to scrape the snow off it, because you'll scratch and damage the tents, and indeed we've lost many tents because of that. You've got to really look after the tent as you're putting it up to make sure that it doesn't get blown away, or that you don't drop the poles or any of the other bits of kit as you're doing it. Again, you'll be putting these tents up in potentially quite difficult conditions, and so you want to practice setting your tent up before you do so. So again, on that day where we'll be prepping, you'll be issued your tent, you'll get it out, you'll put it up, you'll check that it's all there, and you'll be good to go. So you know the next time you put it up in that storm, you can do so really effectively and get shelter quickly. Okay, so snow pegs. We don't use those small pegs that you'd put in the dirt. Obviously in the snow you need a much larger surface area, and so you'll be issued about 10 of those to assist you to keeping that tent locked in. And you might even use other tools like skis or snowshoes or axes or whatever to make sure that that tent doesn't get blown away. As you're putting it up as well, you'll use actually 2 people, one person to be holding onto it, positive control, while the other person puts the poles through and the like. I hope that's given you a good understanding of some of the shelter options that you'll be using on rock and ice, and I really look forward to seeing you there.